Hello, I'm Police Sergeant Bill Gleason. Viewing this video will not certify you for the baton, handcuffs, or self-defense. Its purpose is to familiarize you with the various techniques. To be certified, you will need to attend a registered training class with a certified instructor. We will be demonstrating self-defense techniques and, in a few cases, how to restrain a prisoner until the police arrive. But first, I need to impress upon you that none of these techniques should be used unless you or someone else's life is in jeopardy. Now let's begin. As you approach, if a suspect doesn't respond to your verbal commands, you will have to go hands-on. When possible, you should always approach the subject from the side or rear, never from the front. Usually, you start out facing the individual you're going to be escorting out. As you approach, if you are right-handed, that is the hand you will use to grab with. The left hand still has to stay up because you're reaching out to grab the subject. As I come in, my left hand stays up, in case I need to block his strike. I come in here and grab his wrist. I'm grabbing right around the wrist. I'm not grabbing the large muscle mass right around the forearm. I'm grabbing right on the wrist. I'm stepping to the outside, cutting his body in half. I get all my personal weapons still available to me here, and he has half his body available to use against me. Once I come in here, using my body as a level, I come in with the hard bony portion of the forearm right over the top, just above the elbow and the tricep area. I then lock his arm into my body, using my forearm over top, using my body as a lever. You should continue to give verbal commands to reduce resistance. Stop resisting. Stop resisting. I then want to rotate the arm over for the hyperextension. As you can see, his elbow is pointing towards the sky. The elbow doesn't bend this way, it bends this way. That's why I want to rotate it over for the hyperextension. Continue to give verbal commands. Stop resisting. Stop resisting. I lock it in here. His hand is pointed upward, and if you are carrying a firearm, he can't grab it. As I come here, I'm using that hard bony portion and I'm going to give him verbal commands. Stop resisting. Stop resisting. I've situated my body to protect my groin. He's still got a hand free. I'm going to control that hand, so I tell him, put your hand on top of your head, and I begin to escort him and just walk him to where I want him to go. Let's pick the pace up a little bit. My hands are up to be able to defend a counterstrike if I need to. As I come in, I step here and here, and I get the hyperextension. I press my body where I need it to be to protect myself against a strike to the vital area. As I come in here, one of the key points is I want to get up in the shoulder. He's stronger towards the center of his body. He's weaker away from the center of his body. This is a weaker joint, so I want to attack the weaker joint. If I come here, he can stand up and have that muscle out. Even if I put all my weight, he can still stand up. If I put all my weight here, stand up. He can't stand up. So this is the escort to control the hand. Okay, let's go. Put your hand on top of your head. If the resistance escalates violently, I need to go into a full takedown. All I'm going to do is use my body as a lever and take him down. As I step in, the same thing. I step here, and if he starts to resist, all I'm going to do is lock his arm on his body and step behind him. I'm using my arm as a lever. His hand never leaves my body. As I take that step, he goes down on the ground. Notice his arm has never left my body. I'm still over the top of the joint from here. Put your other hand out. I have him under control. I can now transition him and handcuff him from this point. Just rotate the fingers towards the head, grab the shoulder in the back, ready to front cuff him. This is called the straight arm bar takedown. As I come in, I go here and I go here and I take him down on the ground. Flatten out the shoulders. See how they are pinned to the mat? I've still got his hand locked onto my body. He can't reach for my weapon. I still have the control. Drop his shoulder in the ground right into a bar hammer lock and then transition into position to cuff him. These controls are based on the normal type of resistance you get. The next one is the bar hammer lock. As I come in, it's the same thing. My hands are up. I'm expecting resistance. So as I step in, my hands are up to defend myself from a counter strike if I need to. As I come in from the outside, in the first demonstration he was pushing away, so I did the straight arm bar, which is just a hyperextension of the elbow and eventually taking the shoulder joint. Now, if he gets the elbow bent and starts to raise up, I'm going to release. I no longer have the straight arm bar takedown. However, I still have control here. Keep your chin tucked to make sure you don't get hit by his free hand. Gut blade your body and make sure you don't get kneed or kicked in the groin. All I have to do now is, as he tries to pull up, I will just pop that tricep area using a palm heel strike that will send him forward. I lift the wrist up into my elbow and lock it in. Both hands come together. His hand is behind his back now. I bring him close to my body. If he continues to try to stand up, I rock forward, put the elbow in his elbow, trying to make his thumb touch the back of his head kind of like a chicken wing. I can escort him from here. Put your hand on top of your head and stop resisting, and escort. When you are dealing with a person who is resisting arrest, in order to get him under control, the best method is to do what is called a takedown. We'll do it from the front and then from the back. As you approach him, always remember to protect yourself. Come here right to the outside. As he lifts up, palm heel strike lifting up. At the same time, I start turning away from him. I don't want him to be where he can turn and still strike me. Once I've got it locked in here, if he tries to muscle out or if he tries to stand up and continues to resist, I take him to the ground. It's harder for him to resist if he's thrown down on the ground. I tell him to stop resisting. Stop resisting. If he continues to resist, I'm going to step again off my right shoulder, pressing down and lifting up, taking the thumb to the back of his head. As I step down, I get him on the ground. I still have the lock tight against my body. From here, I can transition into control. I loosen the wrist and my knee goes against the body. My other knee goes over top of his body, not on the neck, not on the body, but over the shoulder blades. As you can see, I still have a gooseneck hold here. I can flex the wrist if he starts to resist, but I want to continue to give him verbal commands. Don't move. Stay down. Don't move. Stay down. If he starts to resist, I can flex the wrist until he's complying. I can then take my handcuffs out and secure his hands behind his back. Never allow someone to get close enough to choke or assault you. You must always be in control. But if somebody gets in close enough to be able to choke you, try to keep as much space between you and him by moving back or be in a position to deliver a strike and stop his forward momentum. If they do reach you and grab you in the chokehold, all you have to do is raise your arm over top. I prefer using the arm on the opposite side of where your weapon is, so the firearm is always the furthest from him. I come in here. All I'm going to do is raise my arm over top and turn that way. I don't turn all the way away from him because if I do, he can get me from the back, which could make matters worse. I raise my arm and turn like this and then deliver the elbow strike to the head and disengage. There are nerve pressure points throughout the body that are very sensitive to pain, and you can get them to comply when he's in high-intensity pain. There are a couple of things you can do. There's a nerve that runs up and down your calf that is very sensitive. If you have boots on, you can come in here, give verbal commands, let me see your hands. Obviously, if I can't see his hands, he might be carrying a firearm. I want to see his hands. Never go hands-on if you can't see his hands. But if you've already seen his hands, and they're underneath him, and you are sure he doesn't have anything in them, and he's not trying to reach, you can use one of these techniques. The first one is the calf pressure technique. If you have a good hard set of boots on, you will want to flatten his leg out. Use the edge of your boot along the nerve area of the calf here. If I put any pressure on it, See, he's already reacting to it. Always maintain your balance. Watch the hands and take the side angle of the boot, that hard surface, and grind it into the calf area. As you can see, it is very painful. If you're attacking that sensitive nerve in the back of the calf, I need to get it flat. I need to watch those hands. If those hands are forward, I'm not going to approach him if I think he's reaching for a weapon. I'm going to disengage and draw my firearm. But in this situation, we're pretty confident he doesn't have a weapon. He's just holding his arms underneath him. I'm now going to go hands-on with him. This is accomplished as follows. I come in and will step on his calf and flatten his leg. I turn my foot to the side so I get that hard angle, and I try to grind it on that nerve running on the back of the calf. You see, he automatically complies and brings hands out. Always be aware that he might try to kick you. Again, maintain your balance, grind across the nerve on the back of the calf, put a lot of pressure on it, and his hands will come out. If you have another security officer present with you, they place handcuffs on him while you maintain control. I'm at a distance where I can react, but if I'm in close enough and all of a sudden he moves to a spontaneous attack, what I'm going to do is step in. At this point, you have two choices. Step in or step out. If you can get to his side, that is even better, but you've got to make that decision. As I'm stepping in, I'm attacking. I'm striking sensitive areas such as the bicep area. So as I step in, I'm conscientious of my arm guard. So as I step in, I attack. Here's where I use close quarter combat, elbows, knee strikes, whatever I need to do. If I need to transition where I've weakened his resistance, there's several things I can do. There's an arm guard over the head, an arm guard to the ground, or I can transition where I block that here, and I get it here, and go for the arm guard takedown. The main thing is that you don't get punched during this counterattack. As he throws that punch, I'm attacking here and counter-striking. You can do leg sweeps or other techniques that will put him on the ground. The main thing is, don't get hit. Either disengage or go to one of the controls I just showed you, such as the leg sweep. Move to the leg, and as he goes down, transition into some kind of control. The best way to deal with him is give him continued verbal direction. Stand up, put your hands behind your head, and interlock your fingers. Obviously, we want to take control, especially if he's interlocked. You need to break that grip. You can do that by finger peels. There are several areas you can use pressure points on. There's one to the base of the jaw, just under the ear. But if I want to come in, I've got to break that grip. If he's completely free, I've got to protect myself as I come in making contact with him. Make sure he doesn't hyperextend one knee. As I come in here, take and peel the thumb to break the grip. If I come in here, there are several ways to do this. I can use his arm against my knee here. I'm still standing. I have the straight arm escort. Just pull in and use my knee as a lever and bring him around to the prone position. From here, if he's subject to arrest, we have him get on his knees and we can just move him. Another situation to deal with is if they are passive resistant. Obviously, the best way is communication. If you have to go hands-on, use a minimal amount of force. We're not justified in striking him at this point. We might just have to do a joint manipulation. Even if you use a hand compliance technique, you come in and use a hand compliance technique, you're eventually discussing control of getting him to release his hands, and then you can go after something. But as you come in, you're going to make contact. You want to break that grip. Whatever you have to do to break that grip. As I come in, I get that arm straight. Same thing. If he pulls in, I can still go in with it and pull the takedown. Everything is the same. But from here, instead of having to get down with him and get with him, I use my knee. I've got the arm hyperextended, and I'll pull him around my knee and bring him to the prone position and then transition from here. Obviously, if someone comes up, the key is not to let them get close enough to you. Keep him at arm's length. If you have a baton, you can create distance by drawing your baton. You can create distance until you can give verbal commands or you can deliver some kind of strike to stop his forward momentum. But if he comes up and gets too close into his punch area, just grab here. If he grabs hold of you or he's pushing you, same thing. But if he has hold of you, all we're going to do is deliver some kind of counter. If he's got a hold of you, drop your center. Balance is the key. He can disrupt your balance. Drop your center. You want to give him some kind of distraction. That would be a palm heel strike, kick, whatever you need to do. There's two takedowns here. One is I reach across and grab the hand. If I'm right-handed, I reach across and grab the hand furthest away from me. All I do is grab the back of the hand and I step right across the front of him and go straight into that straight arm bar takedown. So it's just reach across as I come in here and I take him to the ground. The other one is reach and grab the hand closest to you. The same thing. I want to deliver some kind of distraction. When I come here, this one's the same thing. I've got to break that grip and deliver that strike to that nerve area in the forearm. Grab that wrist, both arms come together, and I step through. Same thing. Take his thumb this way, not towards the center of his body. Take his thumb towards the outside of his shoulder. Because the body doesn't work that way, the wrist doesn't work that way, the elbow doesn't go that way, the shoulder doesn't go that way. So if he comes, same thing. He grabs hold of me, I set my balance. I counter strike, lift that, come in, grab it, the whole body moves, the whole body twists and turns. That's what causes the torque in those joints. As I step through, I take him right to the ground and I can roll him into the prone position where I can take my control. When somebody comes from behind you and locks you down, the most important thing is don't let them pick you up. This is accomplished by dropping to your center. If I just stay with my feet close together, he picks me up pretty easy. He could pick me up and drop me on my head. So the first thing is, don't let somebody sneak up behind you. But if they do, drop your center. Now he can't pick me up because I've got my weight wide and deep. From here, my arms are trapped. So there's a couple things I can do. Once I go here, I'm going to step to the outside of him. My arms are free where he's got me in here. I've got my arms bent. I drop, and all I'm going to do is strike to the groin. Drop my center, clearing my hips, a strike to the groin exploding out, and obviously turning around as quick as I can. I don't want to have him at my back any longer. He comes in here, he's got my arms trapped, so the only thing I can do is drop my center so I won't get picked up. Clear my hips out so I can strike him in the groin and then explode out. Once I get the grip broken, elbows, and then get turned around. Now my arms are free, but I'm trapped. Same thing. First thing I want to do is make sure I don't get picked up. So I drop my center. As I drop my center, I'm going to start to turn depending on where his head is. I can go either way with elbow strikes. From here, hopefully those elbow strikes will take effect. If not, I can do a thumb peel. I don't want to get picked up. My hands are free here. All I do is grab that thumb, rip that thumb off, which will cause the hands to come apart and then obviously escape out. As he comes in, the first thing I need to do to protect myself from being choked is tuck my chin in the crook of his elbow. Also, a lot depends on what he's able to do. If he breaks my balance backwards, it's going to be hard for me to do anything forward. If he's got any kind of blood or air choke on me, I don't want to be messing around. I want to be able to regroup and get myself together. So I'm going to come in here and pull down on his elbow a little bit, relieving the pressure on my neck, and step around the outside and trap my leg around his leg and just go to the outside. He can no longer move his feet because I've got them trapped. Now all I want to do is break his hold. As he comes up, I got to turn into it, drop my center, protecting the choke. If he pulls me back, I wrap around with it to the outside, get rid of him and get myself back together and do what I need to do if he comes back. This concludes the self-defense training session. Please insert the second disc titled Non-Lethal Weapons.